Today is going to be the most like sentimental, nostalgic thing I have done in so long. We are currently in Toronto. I was here for work. My boyfriend's never been to Toronto. We came for the polar vortex, not the best timing, but we've been working. We extended the trip by 1 day, so we had one free day. We got to rent a car, and we are going to like all my old haunts. We're gonna go to my hometown, Oakville, Ontario. I'm gonna show them my schools, my homes, all the places I like used to go with my friends. We're gonna go to Cabbagetown, which is in Toronto. That's where I lived at 18 years old, moved out on my own. So that's the first stop. Carleton and Parliament, my old stomping grounds, my old intersection. I'm like so excited, but also like, I don't know, it's like a weird, I know there's gonna be like so many memories and a lot of emotions. I haven't lived in the Toronto area in like 7 or 8 years, and I don't come back often, so this should be an adventure. Off to Cabbagetown. Okay, so we routed from our Yorkville hotel to House on Parliament, which is this old British pub. And like I said, at 18 years old, I left my comfort of the suburbs, and on my own, I moved into the big city, into Cabbagetown, and House on Parliament is where I ate dinner the first night I moved in. And I lived alone. I didn't have a roommate except for my guide dog Gypsy, obviously. And I had a 2-bedroom apartment and a big balcony. I was 18, like I didn't want to spend my first night alone. So I invited one of my friends from high school, and the two of us came. We had dinner at House on Parliament and a drink, and then we went back to my place. And what is hitting my head? Something's touching me.
It's a little hanging
Oh my
plant.
God, that freaked me out, because I was just about to say we had this like terrible raccoons situation that night after coming for dinner here, and then this started touching my head, and I was like, the raccoons are back for me. Okay, so right across from here, like somewhere along here, should be Epicure, which is like an Italian little like deli.
Oh, there it is, way down there.
Oh, they might have relocated slightly.
There
It's
they
like, okay, so that, I was a regular. It's the only place I've ever truly been a regular. Like if I walked in, they'd say like the usual, which was the Northern Italian. That sandwich and me, I ate it at least once a week, because you guys know I don't cook. That was my go-to. So I think we're gonna grab like a breakfast sandwich there, and then we're just gonna walk around and walk through all the memories. I had 2 different apartments in this neighborhood, so we'll go this way.
Okay.
And I truly believe that Elton is the reincarnation of Gypsy. I literally made a whole video about why, but there's even more reasons. And this is Gypsy's first time coming back. Isn't it, Elton? It's your first time back. I want to take him to the park that I walked her to every single day, like twice a day. I'd either go before work and after work, or on my lunch break and after work. Okay, Epicure had a Nanaimo bar, which it's like homemade. Everything here is homemade, so I had to get it because growing up I love Nanaimo bars. I'm gonna age myself here, but back, like way back in the 90s, Tim Hortons, when it was actually a Canadian-owned company, had Nanaimo bars, and I was so obsessed. And then, you know, when you're a kid and you bring treats for everybody on your birthday at school, I brought Nanaimo bars because I loved them so much, and they're so hard to find. It's a Canadian dessert from Nanaimo, BC.
Okay.
And it has coconut and chocolate. So it's like a layered bar. So the base is almost like a cakey coconut chocolate base. And then it's kind of like a buttercream frosting, and then a hard shell of chocolate on top.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that does sound awesome.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Does that bring back all your memories?
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God. Have a bite.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm.
Mmm. Oh my goodness.
It's so rich. It's
Yeah.
so sugary. It's so sweet.
There we go.
Mm.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Great. The coconut is very nice. And the cream cheese frosting is like, holy cow.
Yeah, it's like a buttercream.
Did you ever make these at home?
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't come from a family of bakers or.
Right, yeah.
It's good stuff. Okay. Next stop, I think I want to bring you to my first apartment.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back out at Carleton and Parliament, and this is now an accessible crosswalk. I cross this T intersection all the time, and it's like a really weird T intersection because there's also then like a secondary stop sign street right there. Do you see it? So that side street has a stop sign. So it's like a weird multi-intersection area, and I would have to cross all these streets all the time, multiple times every single day, and this was not accessible. And T-intersections aren't the easiest when they're not accessible, but especially such a busy intersection like this one that has streetcars. Oh my God, everybody's always like, Molly, the streetcar tracks. I was like, I'm fine, I live here, it's fine, I know. And so I submitted a request to the city to make it accessible, but that, like when you submit it, it takes years. And I only lived here for 2 years. So by the time that I left, it still wasn't accessible, but evidently my submission eventually was completed. So now if any other blind people live in Cabbagetown, there it is, it's there. Okay, let's go this way up Carlton to my first apartment ever. Okay, so this, I don't know what it is now, but this was my apartment. I would come, I had a little key fob, I would like scan a little thing next to the door, open it, and I was on the top floor. So I had there was no elevator, so I'd just walk up a bunch of stairs. Inside it was like an old Victorian building, and that's where I would be every single day after work, and then I would just walk a few doors down and I'd be at my office. The office that I worked out of every single day, if I wasn't on tour, I was a professional speaker, so if I was touring, obviously I was on the road. But if I was in town, I would come here every single day to work it's basically like a little house, the vibe of a little house. Oh, this is where he'd come every day as Gypsy. He thinks like he can play with us anytime he wants, so it's way more fun when other people engage with him. Exactly.
Good boy.
Well done. Elton will do the same. They'll throw it for you. They'll throw it for you. Yes.
Okay, I'll film next to you.
Hello, are you rolling?
Yes. Okay, so we're gonna cross the street here.
Okay, so I'll start after we cross. My walk to the park every day, it was like 4 to 5 blocks. So really simple and just like a straight shoot. So that was great. I loved living in this neighborhood. Like I always felt safe. Even though I was just 18 years old living on my own in the city, like this area of town feels very safe. And I don't know, like it's not like high rises and big city blocks. It's quite, I don't know, like a cute little old town feel, which I really appreciated.
How does it feel kind of like exploring all this area again? Like, are you, we can cross again. Are you feeling, is it like reminiscent, or is there any like trauma that's coming up? Like, oh, it's really weird to be here again, where like a lot of crazy stuff happened?
I think what's nice is that like mostly, good boy. I am filled with like, sounds of the city. Really safe. It's like a really safe area. I've never felt scared. No, honestly, mostly what I'm filled with is like just an immense sense of pride for my 18-year-old self. Like, I'm just like, God damn, she was doing it. Like, I had only gone blind 4 years prior. Like,
That's
literally
pretty
wanted
crazy,
to end my life. And then I was like doing all these things that just 4 years prior, I like didn't think I'd live to do, let alone ever be able to do. And so I come back here and like a lot of hard stuff happened, as it does in your, when you're 18, 19, 20, working your first big girl job and like living alone for the first time. But I'm not like thinking of those parts of it. I'm just thinking of like how proud I am of the fact that I did something really hard and I did it successfully. And I remember back then feeling that same thing. I just felt proud of myself every day. And yeah, I'm like, it's cool being back and being like, okay, it's not just a memory, it really is a thing that I did.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're off to your second apartment.
Yes, so I lived in 2 different apartments. My first one was mouse infested. I had raccoons and mice, quite an experience for my first time living alone.
Are you blind?
I never.
And the refs are like,
That's a funny thing to overhear.
That was
as you're walking
hilarious.
by.
I thought it was, okay, for you guys, if you didn't hear, that
They
girl
probably
just,
didn't.
the girl walking by us just shouted, Aneva. are you blind? And I was like assuming she was talking to me, which was like
Yeah, I thought it was like recognizing you in
Right.
a very like
weird way
unpolite
to say it. Yeah. I thought, good boy.
No, they were talking about ice hockey.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, it's an awkward time to say it.
Yeah.
Okay, wait,
that's
I think,
crazy.
is this the restaurant? What is this called?
It says happy hour stout Irish pub.
Yes! Okay, I used to come here, and in the summer, these windows are all open,
Oh, nice.
and I'd come here and have drinks with friends and stuff. Wow, it's so fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
Go
It's like-
we.
yeah, it feels almost like
We're not
he
going to
really
my old
wants to go back
office,
into here.
babe.
No, buddy. This is back at the office again.
He wants to go to the office. Dude, we don't work there anymore, babe. Whatever.
Okay.
That is really bizarre. Isn't that so weird? And this was my second apartment. This is now Chicken Place, apparently, but it was a Tim Hortons. And across the street was a Rexall pharmacy.
That's still there, yeah.
And it was so bright at night because this was the door that I would use to get into my building. And then I'd walk up one flight, and that bay window right there, the bottom floor, was mine. It was like a tiny little, it was like maybe 450, 500 square feet. It was just like a room with a bed, a kitchen. The only door was to the bathroom.
Wow.
It was tiny, and it was always too hot because I was above the kitchen
Oh, yeah.
where the industrial ovens would be cooking all the baked goods 24/7 for Tim Hortons. So yeah, that was my second place. Okay, so we made the drive out to Oakville, classic Toronto traffic, and we're in my high school that I graduated from, so the school I went to for grade 11 and 12 after I went to the school for the blind for grade 9 and 10. And when I was here, I was the only blind student, and I had my own office where my vision itinerant and my educational assistants and myself would all work. And this closet over here was filled with my Braille books. All of my math textbooks, English, everything, all my textbooks filled that closet. And then I had my own desk that was against this wall over here. And that's where I had my laptop and my Brailler. And basically, like, because Braille is so loud. So for example, like in math class, I would go to the first half of the period, and then during the period, the section of the class where you'd be working, I'd come down in here to work because the Brailler would be like tick, 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 so loud. And then my vision itinerant sat there, and my Braille printer. So I could print anything off of my computer in Braille on a big Braille printer, which is so loud. And then this is the door to the hallway that I would use. I had my own little key, and I would use my key to come in and out of here, or I would use that door over there. But I would only be able to exit through that door. This door was my main entrance and exit. It's like so funny coming back. It's like, yeah, I don't know. This is my own little private office. I did a lot of all my exams, like anytime I would be doing, I guess you guys in the States call them finals. I just learned that. But like during exams, I would do all my exams out of here. Any of my kind of like study periods would be in here. So honestly, like most of my time at school was spent in this office. Sometimes I'd even just like stay and eat my lunch in here. Yeah, memories. Okay, so this is another place where there was not an accessible crosswalk, and I petitioned the town, and they put one in after I no longer needed it, but now future blind people can use it. So this was at my high school. We had North Campus and South Campus, and I would have to go between the two campuses for different classes every day. So I'd have to cross the street, and it was not accessible. So I would literally just have to push a button and hope for the best and go. But now, because I submitted to the town, it does have the little bumpy foot braille for the crosswalk on both sides, and this tactile button so it tells you what direction you're going, and then it will beep and vibrate. There you go. Yay! We love accessibility. See, advocating works. Okay, so since going to the school, which by the way, this jacket that I'm wearing is literally the jacket I got in 2010. It's like vintage TNA Aritzia at this point. I wore this to high school for grade 11 and 12, and then after we went to that school, we drove past like the Whole Foods at Trafalgar and Cornwall, if you know, you know, and then we went to the house that I lived in at the time that I was going to that high school, which was after my vision loss, and that's like gone. The people who bought it from us renovated it, which we already knew. And then we drove through the quaint little downtown Oakville, all the memories there. I worked at a store downtown in high school. And then we went to a school that I went to, a private school that I went to when I was in grade 7 and 8. And then we've looped around to where I spent most of my life. I lived here from 5 to like 15, 16. Yeah, from 5 to 16. And my parents had knocked this house down and built it from the ground up. but apparently it's changed. It was a red brick house when I lived here.
They've painted it like a light gray color with white.
Oh, it was so cute when it was red brick.
Yeah.
Is it still brick?
It's still brick, yeah.
Okay, so it's still the same house. They just like painted the outer.
It.
And we had white garage doors.
Now it's
and,
dark gray, like charcoal gray.
Oh, and a white front door.
Black front door.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like white accents on a red brick home. But it sounds like the rest of the house is still the exact same.
Yeah,
It sounds like they just painted it.
Yeah.
So that's my childhood home, where I spent most of my life. I went blind in that house.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of, it's really interesting. Like, I'm so grateful to be from such a beautiful town. I'm so grateful to have been raised near Toronto, to have had a chance to live in downtown Toronto and work there. There's so many wonderful people, but like majority of the hardest things that happened to me in Toronto and Oakville. And so I'm equally grateful to have left and have been able to start fresh in Los Angeles. But the older I get and the further away from those traumatic memories I get, I'm able to come back, and instead of feeling like really triggered, I can think of the good times more than the bad times, which is a really nice feeling. But yeah. So it was a beautiful home. I loved living there.
Very nice.
Okay, so I've come to the YMCA where I had my first job. I worked as a camp counselor at 15, and then at the end of my first summer, they offered me a position at the rock climbing gym, which is no longer a rock climbing gym. It's so many memories here. It's now apparently like one of those jungle gyms that you'd see in like a McDonald's in the 90s. But basically, like over here, there was all these mats, and you'd climb the wall, climb the ceiling, and then back up the wall. This was like our more advanced. And then on the left, these were bouldering walls, so they're really short, and then we'd have mats under that. And then back there was our room where we kept all of our harnesses and equipment. And then there was 2 walls, like side by side over there.
Yep.
So I'd harness the kids up, and I'd tie the ropes, and I'd, belay the children. And then along the window there was a bench that like went along the window. Oh, wait, can I walk over there?
Yes, you can.
Is there much in the way?
He'll guide you through. No, it's
Okay.
just a mat, and then it's the jungle gym, but he can walk you straight through.
Anapa.
It's wide open. It's just
Oh my
some bars he can
goodness.
get you through that. Oh, okay. He was not paying attention
Well,
to
it's
that.
overhead. That's hard for dogs. So over here, it sounds so weird because I can hear stuff over my head.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so over here, there was 2 walls side by side,
Yep.
and I would belay a lot. These were like our kind of
Yeah,
beginner
you can
walls.
still see where the holes for like where the all the little handholds used to be.
I can not only remember vividly climbing them as a kid before I worked here, but like I can so viscerally remember like pulling the ropes as kids would climb these walls. And Gypsy, I would tie her down right here on this corner of the window where the
Wow.
bench was. I'd loop
Yeah.
her so she'd lay there while I worked.
That's so cool.
And I would wander the gym because it was fully open in the middle of the room.
Right.
We had like soft flooring everywhere, but then we'd have like thicker mats under certain areas. And I would run a little group class with my coworker Luca, and we would, who also was a camp counselor as well, and we would like sit all the kids in a circle in the middle of the room, and we'd play games, and then we'd belay them.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What a cool place to work.
It was really fun. I'm so fortunate that I had such a great first work experience, especially as a disabled person, because it made me believe that there are good employers out there and that there are great opportunities and people who see your value and not just what you lack or what they perceive you to lack. And I certainly had a lot of really negative work experiences after that, but I'm really grateful that my first one was positive. A lot of good memories here. Another funny memory is when Luca and I also had a female coworker, and I can't remember her name, but Luca and I worked together a lot. And I remember when we'd get bored and there was no kids around, he would climb the wall and I would belay him, and he was like 6 foot something, big guy. And so he was obviously much heavier than me. So he would climb to the top. I'd be belaying down here. He would jump off the wall, which would bring me flying into the air, and then we would just hang.
Oh,
like,
cool.
so we'd both be evenly halfway up the wall,
Yeah.
and we would just hang and chat. And we would like put our feet against the wall and kick and swing
Yeah.
and chat. And then we'd like he'd see people coming, and we'd be like, whoop, and we'd like lower ourselves down.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's
That
funny.
sounds really fun.
Good times. when I started working here, there was no Braille anywhere, and so they gave me permission to use my Braille label maker, and I made sticky Braille, and I stuck it to like different sections. So the one for here was like somewhere along here. I just stuck it, and it said rock climbing gym in Braille, and I like made them for everywhere. All the bathrooms had like makeshift Braille signs, which I think they've actually made real Braille signs now. It's so fun to like see all the ways in which I like advocated for myself around these different areas that I grew up. And then that like the accessibility has become real, you know?
It has improved,
cool?
yeah. All the street crosswalks and places in your school and your old workplaces and stuff, it's cool.
Yeah. If the green bean still existed in Oakville, best believe that's where I would be coming to eat. I do love Colossus. That's one of my faves downtown. Their saganaki, delish. Their lamb, they have like a lamb poutine, incredible. But we wanted to do like a quick grab and go. It's after 3, we haven't eaten lunch yet. I'm hungry, but we have to get the rental car back by 6 p.m. and it's Friday night. Like it's a Friday evening, so you never know what traffic heading back into the city is gonna be like. So we're just gonna like be cautious, grab something to go. So obviously Stoney's is the only option. Stoney's is a staple, a classic, so delicious. So we're getting just my favorite margarita pizza and another Canadian dessert. We had to get a butter tart because my boyfriend's never had one. Oh, it smells so good. We're just waiting for the pizza and we're just gonna like put it on my lap in the car and we'll just eat it, we'll split it. So we save room for dinner tonight. But I'm very excited. The other faves from here for me are always the salads. Their Caesar salad is phenomenal, and so is their goat cheese salad. Those are definitely ones that I would get a lot when I would come. We're back in LA and out of the polar vortex. Pizza was 10 out of 10. Would recommend, so good. I literally like think about that pizza regularly, so that was really nice to go get that. And then once we got back to the hotel, we were just zonked. We just chilled out the rest of the night. As you could probably tell in my voice, I was so exhausted. It's just been go, go, go nonstop. The start to 2025 has been truly chaotic, but I turn 31 next week. So I feel like it's the end of my first year is in my 30s. And the first year in my 30s has been really nutty, and it's ending that way as well. So I'm looking forward to turning 31, entering a new, fresh era. And it was really nice to go back because so much of my like hardest memories, as I said, took place in Oakville and in Toronto. And as much as I love both of those cities, oftentimes going back like gives me anxiety or just like doesn't make me feel the best. But this time, instead of going back to these places and feeling like a victim to all these hard things that happened to me, I went back and like I felt like a survivor. Like I was like, no, I got through it. Like I got through all that hard stuff and I am who I am because of that. And I'm so proud of this person. And the strength that I have today to get through hard things is because of the strength that young girl had who was living in this place and going through those things. And instead of feeling like sad for her, which I often do, I often feel like very sad for my former young self who had to go through so much that she shouldn't have had to. I was filled with just like so much pride and gratitude for her. So it's really nice to have gotten to go back with that mindset. And we really want to go back in the summer just to see my family again. And to maybe go to some more places, have some more walks down memory lane that we weren't able to get to because we only had the one day off. And because it was just so cold, like it limited what we could do. So we really want to go back in the summer when it's nicer and just enjoy Toronto when it's at its best. I think Toronto is such a great city in the summer. Oh, hey, Elts. You want to go back in the summer? So we're hoping. So you might see me back in Toronto, maybe like July, sometime around there. Oh my God! What the hell?
He's never done this.
What are you doing?
Elton,
Hey,
no,
you're
not allowed.
Elton, get down.
What the heck?
What was that?
It's been months since he's tried that.
I don't know that is crazy. That is utterly crazy that he just did that.
What the heck? What the heck?
I don't understand that was out of.
This video is boring. I need to spice it up.
That was out of nowhere. That was unhinged behavior.
Barges the door open, jumps on the bed.
I'm baffled on that note. I'll see you in the summer, Toronto. Thanks for the good times. I'll see you then. Until next time, you can click over here to watch this video where I talk about this disability parking issue. I want your opinions. So definitely go there, get in the comment section, or you can click over here to watch this video.